takes her forever. What are you doing? What are you doing? You gonna lay down? Welcome, everybody. We are reacting to Ratched. We're on season 1, episode 2. So far, she has wriggled her way into a position at the institution, and we kind of didn't know why she was trying so hard to get into the place. But then it revealed that the guy at the beginning of the episode, well, he is being housed there. I forget his name. Thomas? That doesn't sound right. I don't know. I forget his name. But at any rate, she's finally laid down. He ended up there. He's being held in the cellar, and it's, I guess, the first case of a prisoner being sentenced to the insane asylum. And so they had to build a different confinement for him to house him and everything. Anyway, he's in the cellar. She showed up there. They know each other because he was like, "You found me." I don't know if he's a lover or a child. I think he's a child, but of hers, but I'm not positive on that. He might be a lover or something like that. But at any rate, she's wriggled her way in, blackmailed a nurse in order to get her position because that nurse was having sex with a patient. Should have been fired. Um, so, and then we've got Nurse Bucket, who kind of has the stereotype that Nurse Ratched does, which is the stern, strict, all that kind of stuff. But Nurse Ratched seems to know how to play the game and woo folks and that sort of thing. And she's now definitely at the institution in the care of, not in the care of, but under the eyes of the governor. Was he the governor, I believe? And the doctor knows that she intentionally poisoned the man and then came in to rescue him. And Munchausen, by proxy, is basically what she pulled there. But he has no way of proving it. And because of all the media attention that happened around it, he had to hire her. So this will be an interesting dynamic, see how things go forward from here and that sort of thing. So let's get into it. Let's see what happens. And I've got some watermelon salad. I disturbed the princess. So that's the doctor. Nitrous oxide. Using it on himself to get high. And where we had green light before, now we've got red light.
I am hoping the procedure evens me out a little bit.
She must be talking about EC2.
What, that you're a lesbian? That much is plain. It's made obvious by your facial structure.
Facial structure makes her a lesbian. The web she's weaving. The batteries died on my earpieces, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this because I don't want to stay up waiting. I'm going to go ahead and finish this, so the sound is going to be different. I apologize for that. But luckily, there's no dogs barking or cats fighting or neighbors talking right now. So let's go ahead and watch this and go from there. So having a lobotomy, not an ECT. She's fascinated by it. That's a beautiful shot. Love that outfit.
Edmund Tullison. Do you recognize that name?
Tullison, not Thomas.
I don't want to talk about this. I know what you
I didn't even recognize him.
By having an interview with Dr. Hanover and telling him what you saw.
I don't trust her based on her reaction to Tullison at the end of the last episode.
only the facts, but
How'd
how
she
it
drive him
felt.
to the middle of the circle? I don't know why he started crying when he opened it.
And we tap the ice pick.
There she is, fascinated with it again.
Centimeters.
Well, frankly, it seems barbaric.
See, topping out both sides of her mouth.
This may not seem like much, but it's a first step. I'm going to get you out of here.
That seemed very much like a mother-son conversation right there.
It's perfectly nutritious. I'm sure. Very filling. I just don't eat extruded meats. No offense.
There's one summer, all I had were bologna sandwiches.
Bologna is my favorite food.
But I have to have,
Can't be
like,
serious.
at least 3 slices of the thick sliced bologna. I didn't like having a lot of bread.
How about you let me show you around? I'm sorry? I'm driving down to Monterey this afternoon.
She hitting on her?
Just open your lips.
It is kind of a seduction going on. That bright blue car going into the greenery is really pretty.
Oh, I don't know. Just
It's their version of a gay bar. So you wanting to do a lobotomy on him?
Hello, Edna. That's not fair because everybody else already ate.
Tellison is playing a role now.
I'm just here to get to know you.
Okay, yeah, but lots of the times folks say that and then they try to read your mind. That's why I'm so nervous. That window's got a migraine. And
He's definitely playing a role.
This is what I'm talking about. That's why I gotta talk to the dentist.
Why would you need to see a dentist?
So he's trying to carry on the insanity role.
You're experiencing paranoid hallucinations, both auditory and tactile.
If it were real, that would be a possible diagnosis.
And commit unspeakable acts of violence and depravity.
Is that knife going to come into play?
I can help you, but you have to help me.
I'm going to talk him into lobotomy.
would you recognize it if you saw him?
Is she going to kill him? Oh, she's going to try the lobotomy on him. Where does she have the straps strapped to?
Edmund Tellison is my brother.
Brother. Okay.
Right this way.
Now they're going to find him kind of slobbering. So that was the end of episode 2. We got our answer that he is a brother. So I'm betting she's an older sister since she had that mother-like tone with him. We see her getting rid of the folks that would have her brother sentenced to death. They also revealed some things that annoy her, like taking your food when it's not your food. I've had that happen to me. I actually had that happen with leftovers that I had. I was at a conference and I came back. This conference was at a college campus, and so we were in the dormitories where there's a shared kitchenette. And I had my leftovers in the fridge along with some other people that had their leftovers and stuff. And went to go eat it one evening, and somebody had eaten my leftovers. We see that Nurse Bucket doesn't have the stomach for going some of the more drastic routes, whereas Nurse Ratched is fascinated by them. Trying to think, there wasn't a whole lot to this episode for the most part. It was kind of long. It was mostly about the procedure and the operations and that kind of stuff. And they're showing the doctor to be a bit unhinged, and maybe it's because he's been huffing. So we'll have to see where that goes, whether he gets high on other stuff or just that, and if he tries any other drastic procedures. And maybe people are going to be mad because of the lobotomy basically causing them to be empty, for lack of a better way of describing it. Although his description, I didn't know if that was accurate or not, because I thought the lobotomy was triggered from an accident that happened with Phineas something. where they were working on railroad tracks, and an explosion happened, and one of the spikes went up through his frontal lobe from down below. I thought that's how, and maybe the doctor discovered the lobotomy that way. Okay, so under Psych Central, which so far I found has relative information that's helpful, accurate. It says the 20th century, lobotomy became a legitimate alternative treatment for serious mental illness such as schizophrenia and severe depression. Physicians even used it to treat chronic or severe pain and backaches. As you will learn below, in some cases there was no compelling reason for the surgery at all. There is a surprising history of the lobotomy for its use in mental health. Lobotomies were performed well into the 1980s in the United States, Britain, Scandinavia, and several Western European countries. In 1935, which is what he mentioned, I thought he said a different name though, Portuguese neurologist Antonio Igas Moniz performed a brain operation he called luectomy in a Lisbon hospital. This was the first ever modern luectomy to treat mental illness, which involving drilling holes in the patient's skull to access the brain. For this work, Moniz received the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1949. It was renamed lobotomy in 1936. In 1936, Walter Freeman, another neurosurgeon, performed the first U.S. prefrontal lobectomy on a Kansas housewife. He wanted to find a more efficient way to perform the procedure without drilling into a person's head like Moniz did. So he created the 10-minute transorbital lobotomy known as the ice pick, which was first performed at his Washington, D.C. office in 1946. So the guy that I'm thinking of is Phineas Gage, American Railroad construction foreman remembered for his improbable survival of an accident in which a large iron rod was driven completely through his head, destroying much of his brain's left front lobe, and for that injury's reported effects on his personality and behavior over the remaining 12 years of his life. Effects sufficiently profound that friends saw him, for a time at least, as no longer Gage. Long known as the American Crowbar case, once termed the case which, more than all others, is calculated to excite our wonder, impair the value of prognosis, and even to subvert our psychological doctrines. Influence discussion about the mind and brain, particularly debate on cerebral localization, and was perhaps the first case to suggest the brain's role in determining personality, and that damage to specific parts of the brain might induce specific mental changes. So for him, his personality became fitful, irreverent, indulging at times in the grossest profanity, which was not previously his custom, manifesting but little deference for his fellows, impatient of restraint or advice when it conflicts with his desires, at times perniciously obstinate, yet capricious and vacillating, devising many plans of future operations which are no sooner arranged than they are abandoned in turn for others appearing more feasible. A child in his intellectual capacity and manifestations, blah, blah, blah. So he didn't, and I was thinking he became more aggressive and that sort of thing. They're not considering it a lobotomy. Maybe that's because of the danger in the brain and that sort of thing. So that was the end of episode 2. Thank you for joining me on this one. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.